Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to my midday break. Just stepped away from the computer for a bit and I thought we could come outside and enjoy this absolutely gorgeous weather. It's nice and cool today. We've got a lovely breeze. I've got water. I know it's not very exciting, but it is an exciting cup. Check that out, 50th anniversary cup. Got this for like 10 bucks at Character Warehouse, which is the outlet store here nearby Walt Disney World. It was a while ago, so no need to run out there to grab one, but originally 50, so I can't complain. Anyway, today I wanted to sit down with you for a bit and chat a little bit about Disney Vacation Club, specifically what to do if you can't use all of your Disney Vacation Club points on any given year. Now I know that this is a topic that seasoned DVC members have completely squared away. You know, you know exactly what to do. But for those of you who don't, maybe you're thinking about a DVC membership and you want to know what to do, you're trying to work out whether or not it's right for you or how many points are going to be right for you, I figure we can sit down and chat. So grab yourself something cool to sip on, get comfortable, and let's dig in. Now look, we've gone over Disney Vacation Club membership before, right? You kind of know the ins and outs based on some of our previous discussions. You know that when you become a Disney Vacation Club member, you buy a real estate interest, and that's a contract, and that contract consists of any number of points that you choose. And so you have that number of points to use every year during the length of your membership. And you can use those points to stay at Disney Vacation Club villas around the country, not just here at Walt Disney World. You can also use those points for other products like Adventures by Disney or cruises. You can exchange them and stay at other timeshare properties around the country and around the world. So there are a lot of options that are available to you when you're a Disney Vacation Club member. And look, real quick, because I know that there's always someone who comments about this, whether or not you think that exchanging points or using your points for a cruise or whatever is a good deal, that's irrelevant in this conversation. These are your options. Whether or not those are going to be the right option for you, I mean, it really depends on the circumstance, you know what I'm saying? So I try not to get too wrapped around the axles when it comes to what is and isn't a good idea for you and your family, because everyone's situation is going to be different. And Disney Vacation Club membership is a really long time, you know, like generally speaking, like 40, 50 years. So what might not make sense initially might make sense at some point in the next half century. So just keep that in mind. Now, Disney Vacation Club points do expire at the end of the year. So you have to use your points or you're going to lose your points. You won't be able to just roll them over automatically into another year. But there are options that are available to you if you're not going to use your points on any given year. Those options include banking points and borrowing points. And how banking and borrowing points works is exactly what it sounds like, but we're going to go through it anyway just to make sure that everyone stays on the same page. So if you're not going to use your points on a particular year, let's say this year you're not going to use your points, you can go ahead and bank those points for next year, meaning you can take any points that you're not going to use this year, it could be all of your points or it could be just some of your points, and put them into next year's bucket. Yeah, I'm going with bucket today. I don't know, just felt right. It's kind of a summery day. I imagined one of those like sand pail buckets. I don't know, just made sense to me. That means when next year rolls around, you'll have access to whatever points you decided to bank on top of your allotment for next year. So let's say you have 100 points per year. This year, you're not going to use any of those points. You can take that 100 points, bank it so that you can use it next year, and then next year have 200 points to use. But like I said, you have the option of borrowing points as well, meaning you can pull points from a future year. So let's say that you're not going to be able to vacation this year. You will be able to vacation next year, but not the following year. In that case, you have the option of borrowing your points from the following year or next year and pulling them into this year. Now, What this essentially means is that you could have 3 years worth of points available to you at any given time. So again, using the example of 100 points, I could take this year's points, bank them so that I can use them next year, and then next year I can pull points from the following year and bring them into this year, giving me access to 300 points rather than just 200 or this year's allotment of 100. Now, this is one of those things that lots of Disney Vacation Club members do at some point during their membership, and it's a great way to get more points or have access to more points without having to borrow points or rent points or get some additional points from Disney. It's just an easy way to utilize your membership in a slightly different way than you might have originally. One great reason you might want to go this route is if you're going to do like a family reunion or something like that. You know you're going to need multiple rooms, and you can have 3 years worth of points all available to you at one time. You can also go this route with extra points. I actually did that this year. I knew that there were going to be some extra points available, and so I'll likely just bank them for next year. But I mean, it all depends on what my schedule looks like, but that's a story for another day. This is also a great option for families who want to get involved with Disney Vacation Club, but they don't have the ability to travel every year. Maybe they can travel every 2 years or every 3 years. This is something that you can do that will maximize use of your Disney Vacation Club points without having to go through the process of renting them out or just losing them entirely. So you can play with the numbers, you can kind of organize your points in the right way, and that work out for you and your family, which is one of the reasons that whenever people ask, like, how do I know that Disney Vacation Club membership is for me and if I can get my money's worth, especially when they're talking specifically about how many times they have to travel in order to make the most of Disney Vacation Club membership, or how many times annually they need to travel in order to make the most of it. There's really no good answer for that because there are so many options, there's so many routes that you can go that will give you a way to make the most of your membership for you on any given year. And like I said, I'm only talking about banking and borrowing points right now, but we could talk about using your points for cruises or exchanging them so that you can use your points to stay at properties that aren't Disney properties. So with Interval International, which is the points exchange that DVC is associated with right now, you can use your points to stay elsewhere in the country or in the world, which again might not necessarily be the best deal depending on who you are or what your situation is. But if you can't come to Disney, maybe you know you're gonna be traveling somewhere else, maybe you're not gonna be in the country or whatever, you still can use those points. You don't completely lose them. In fact, we've done this before when we had points that were available to us and we knew we were going to be visiting certain places. We wanted to stay at nicer places and didn't want to pay for it out of pocket. We used our Disney Vacation Club points to stay in Boston and Tokyo. Like, there are a lot of ways that you can make your Vacation Club points work for you and work for your situation. So there are a lot of options out there. Now, it's important to keep in mind that even though you do have the option of banking and borrowing points, this isn't something that you can do continuously. You're kind of limited to the points from last year and the points from next year on top of the points from this year. So points will still expire and they don't continuously roll over. So for example, I can't take this year's points, bank them for next year, and then next year pull all of those points into the future year so that I have like 800 points available to me if I only have a 100 point contract. I will only ever have access to 300 points. This year's points, last year's points, and next year's points, assuming that I haven't used any of those points and that I wanted to go the route of banking points and borrowing points. I know that was a lot, so sorry if I lost you there for a second, but what I'm trying to get at is that there are still limitations and you need to be aware of those limitations so you don't find yourself stretched too thin for points. And you want to be aware of those limitations because you don't want to find yourself banking points or borrowing points only to realize that now you're stuck with them and you have no way of using them. So it's really important to make sure that you're planning ahead of time and have a good idea of what it is that you want to do with your points if you're going to go this route. Oh, speaking of another great option for utilizing your points if you want to really do something special, maybe you have a special occasion coming around, there are a lot of really great accommodations that, quite frankly, take up quite a few points, but would be really magical, maybe for a honeymoon, let's say. The bungalows, the cabins, like all of these really grand properties are available as well. And you might not necessarily have access to those properties if you only have one relatively small contract, but if you bank and borrow points, that'll give you more options. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, over the years we've banked points many times, we've borrowed points, we've sometimes run into a situation where we've banked or borrowed more than we originally intended to, and we have to kind of bob and weave with that. Just like everything else when it comes to Disney Vacation Club and pretty much anything else. Sometimes it takes a minute to get the hang of how the process works, but take your time, slow down, take some time to plan, take some time to do some math, and just work through what it is that you want to do and figure out what will and will not work for you and your family. You might make some mistakes along the way, but it's not really a big deal. You can figure it out. But yeah, those are your options when it comes to what you can do with your Disney Vacation Club points if you're not going to use them on a particular year, on any given year. There are, of course, more options that we could discuss. I know we just touched on them today, but I want to hear from you guys. What are some of your favorite ways to use points that you're not going to be able to use on any given year? Do you prefer using them for Adventures by Disney or cruises or doing an exchange? Tell me about it in the comments down below. Also, if there's anything you think I've missed that maybe new Disney Vacation Club members need to know, or those who are thinking about becoming Disney Vacation Club members need to know, tell me all about it in a comment down below. I'm sure that it will help everyone out quite a bit and keep this conversation going, because it's a lot to think about, which is exactly why I love having these conversations. So don't hold back. Tell me your thoughts in a comment down below. But yeah, I think that's about all. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, guys.